Pesticides are a huge group of chemicals. So they range from the insecticides that protect our houses from termites to the plant toxins or herbicides that are used on crops or to get rid of weeds or in your garden, to the disinfectants that you use to clean your bathroom with. So all of those chemicals are pesticides. But there's more. Chemicals such as your insect repellent, those are also classified as pesticides. They're deer repellents, growth regulators. So have you ever wondered why when you go to a garden center and all the chrysanthemums bloom at exactly the same time? They've been treated with a growth regulator for that very purpose, to make that happen. The major concern is for the people who apply these chemicals, especially large scale, and the families who might live on the perimeter of, say, an orchard or a field that is sprayed. Okay, because spray drift does unquestionably leave the site where it's applied. The everyday consumer who just goes to the grocery store and buys his or her produce probably has the highest level of exposure to fungicides. I mean, a lot of our food is locally grown, but a lot of it's shipped from afar. And so to prevent mold from growing and contaminating food that's shipped from far away, fungicides are often used, if not on the food itself, but on the containers that the food is put in. Drinking water can be a source, particularly in rural areas where pesticides, particularly insecticides or herbicides, are applied to crops. Municipally supplied water is very tightly regulated with regard to pesticides and fertilizer contamination, but well owners have to take the responsibility of having the well tested to see what's in there. In terms of pesticide use around the home, consumers are their own worst enemy. I think that consumers tend to think that more is better, and I can't tell you the last time I've talked to anyone who actually read the label on a pesticide container and determined whether or not they applied the right amount to the right area. So I mean, there's an application rate that's appropriate for every pesticide that you would use around the house, and I think probably they're overused by the average consumer around the house. It's astonishing how little really good data is out there on whether or not organically produced foods are actually higher quality, more nutritious. I read several studies recently, and I want to emphasize that the peer-reviewed literature has so little information. I mean, so a lot of what we hear is kind of hearsay about organics being better or organics not being better. So in terms of quality of food, the studies I've read, organically produced fruits and vegetables are either slightly higher in nutritional value or exactly the same. There's a very rigorous certification program for allowing a product to be labeled as USDA organic. And you don't become an organic farmer overnight. So organic foods have to, well, produce, we'll start with produce, has to be grown without the use of synthetic pesticides, fertilizers. There can't be any heavy metal residues added to the field. And the grower has to keep logs of everything they apply to the field. And the reason I say you can't become an organic farmer overnight is because the field has to have been treated in this manner for 3 years prior to you applying to be an organic grower. So, so it's a very rigorous and a very tightly controlled process. And it's interesting, there are instances where organic farms are next to conventional farms, and the conventional farm may spray, and the pesticide drift can contaminate the organic field. That field is no longer organic, and so they essentially have to start over again to maintain the organic certification. In terms of a consumer minimizing pesticide residue ingestion once you're home, I think washing and peeling is by far and away the best advice we can give. I know there are products out there that claim to reduce pesticide residues if you wash, say, your lettuce with it. I haven't seen carefully controlled scientific studies, but I have seen hearsay that basically those products don't appreciably reduce the pesticide residues over just washing and peeling. Related to pesticides, they can be absorbed through the skin, so a child should not go out and play touch football on a freshly treated lawn, if you have a lawn service or if you apply pesticides to your lawn. I would highly recommend, especially this time of year when you've got a farmer's market in practically every community around here, buy locally, talk to the people that grow your food. Honestly, much of what is flagged as contaminated food, too high of pesticide residues, comes from other countries. So the more local your produce especially, the safer you're going to be overall.